And we begin this Sunday morning with America in uncharted territory. For the first time in its 247-year history, a conviction of a former president and the impact so far. Since Trump was found guilty last week of 34 counts of falsifying business records, President Trump told me yesterday that he has raised nearly $200 million in the last few days, including $100 million reportedly from one donor alone, Sheldon Adelson's widow, Miriam Adelson.
The good news is that I think we've set a record beyond all records for fundraising.
And the president told me that specifically it was close to $200 million. Immediately following the verdict, the donation website for the Trump campaign crashed with a record number of small donors looking to make a contribution to the campaign. The president's legal team confirmed it will appeal the ruling, and the campaign said within hours of the decision, the money flooded in, raising a record $34.8 million in small donor donations immediately in just a few hours, 30% of that total from new donors. The case, of course, brought by Manhattan Democrat District Attorney Alvin Bragg after federal prosecutors in the Southern District of New York declined to charge Trump. Judge Juan Merchan set the sentencing of President Trump for July 11th, 4 days before the Republican National Convention opens in Milwaukee. With just 156 days before the election, former Trump senior counselor Kellyanne Conway, with me Friday on Mornings with Maria on Fox Business, said that the verdict does not change much for most Americans.
Here's what the verdict does not change at all. The fact that Joe Biden is every minute, every second of 81 years old. That's not going to get any better between now and November. Kamala Harris can't put a sentence together even when it's already piped into a teleprompter. And when you ask them what would you do on inflation, the answer, Trump. Energy independence, Trump. The border, Trump. The Middle East, Trump. Ukraine, Trump. Their entire campaign is built around taking down Donald Trump rather than lifting up America.
Joining me now in this Sunday Morning Futures exclusive is the Executive Vice President of the Trump Organization and President Trump's son, Eric Trump. Eric, thanks very much for being here this morning.
Morning, Maria.
You've been with your father every day in that courtroom. You saw all of this play out, and you watched the impact. What can you tell us this morning, your reaction?
Well, it's a little bit of a tale of two cities. I go into a courthouse and I see absolute corruption from a judge whose daughter is apparently making millions and millions of dollars fundraising off of my father effectively going to jail. I mean, turning down every witness we have, a one-sided court. And then I was there for him, and you just showed the clip. I was there with him last night by his side as we walked into UFC 302, and you see 40,000 people in Prudential go absolutely crazy. The entire night they were chanting, USA, 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 we love Donald Trump. I mean, in the middle of fights, I cannot tell you how many times that chant broke out. This country loves Donald Trump. You just mentioned a second ago that the judge scheduled sentencing for 4 days before the RNC convention in Milwaukee, the Republicans' biggest day of the entire campaign cycle, their big event, right, their big show. The judge puts it 4 days before. The American people are not stupid, Maria. They see exactly what's going on. They're turning Donald Trump into a martyr. No one believes in the world that they're sentencing the 45th president of the United States of America and a person who will likely be the 47th president of the United States to 34 felony counts for a $130,000 payment that was invoiced as a legal expense, that was written as a legal expense 8 years ago. No one believes it, especially as, people get slashed and killed in New York. And as Alvin, let me just finish with this. As Alvin Bragg was sitting there on sentencing day or on, at the final arguments, a maniac was yielding a machete in a McDonald's in Times Square, slashing 3 different people. I mean, that's the state of New York right now, Maria. Yet they're going after a former president and their biggest adversary for $130,000 8 years ago. America does not buy the nonsense, and that's why my father's got the reaction he got last night. That's why the newest Daily Mail poll that came out about 3 seconds ago has my father up another 6 points. People do not buy the sham. They do not buy this corruption. They see through it for what it is.
So what have you seen in the way of money raising? I spoke with President Trump yesterday. He said it's nearly $200 million. That is astounding. Is that number correct? Where does that number come from?
Well, this might be a little inside information, but as I was leaving my house about 37 seconds ago, I asked my wife, what are we up to now? And she said, just in terms of small dollar, we're well over $70 million. This is $21 donations, $43 donations, right? Small dollar donations. If you add the large dollar donations to it, you're over $200 million, but you're over $70 million. And by the way, Maria,
Wow.
30% of those people have never been seen before by a political party, right? I mean, these are Americans who are pissed off. They're coming out of the woodwork, and they want to support a guy that they just believe is getting bamboozled by a system. And we saw it with impeachment 1. We saw it with impeachment 2. We see it where they weaponize every liberal DA and AG across the country with one intent, to take him down, to slander him, to ruin his reputation, to try and divide his family, to try and bankrupt him, to throw him in jail, to do whatever the hell they can do. And America sees through it. They know exactly what's going on. Al Capone had one count, one felony count. Wow. Donald Trump has 34. Over $130,000 8 years ago? A case that everybody dropped, a case that no one would pick up, and something that was completely legal?
So,
you know, in front of a sham judge who gets every anti-Trump case, the probability of this judge getting every single anti-Trump case would be like 1 in 26 million. There's a lot of judges out there, and he gets every single one. And it's supposed to be random, Maria. You know that. And it's not. They're spoon-feeding it to a guy whose daughter is apparently profiting and making a lot of money off these cases.
Yeah, we're going to speak with the former DNI, John Ratcliffe, in a moment. And he told me this weekend this was coordinated with the Biden administration. He's going to go through some of the things that he believes happened in terms of meetings with White House counsel. Is that what you're saying, that this comes from the White House and Joe Biden?
Oh, there's no question about it, Maria. I mean, the number 3 at the DOJ, a guy named Michael Coangelo, he left the DOJ to go into the DA's office in New York City to prosecute everything Donald Trump. He got demoted from the DOJ in Washington, D.C., the number 3, to go to New York to prosecute everything Donald Trump. Where do you think that came from? Of course, it's weaponization of the system. Biden can't make it up a flight of stairs. He can't get through a sentence without stumbling. He certainly couldn't do an interview like this. So how do they do it? They go after him civilly. They go after him criminally. They go after his family. They subpoena his friends. They do everything that they possibly can. They pull every single string to try and take the guy out of the race. The problem is Americans are really, really smart, and they get it. They get this system. There's only so many times you can cry wolf before, you know, people see right through it, Maria. And that's why my father had the reception he had last night, where he had 40,000 people going absolutely nuts, chanting USA. You know, they want their leader back. They want their patriot back. They want the person back who will actually fight for the United States of America. And that's why we're going to win. We're going to win on November 5th.
Well, you just said the big money donors. I mean, that's a real change in sentiment from what we saw just 6 months or so ago. I mean, you've got people like Steve Schwarzman who are saying, I've got to back President Trump. You have the Adelson situation with $100 million. What are you hearing? Why? Is it because of this very thing, this verdict, or are they just sick and tired of the policies that you're laying out here?
Oh, Maria, if I could have the entire show, I'd go through each one of them. But, I mean, let's start with the economy. Let's start with inflation. Let's start with jobs. Let's start with the fact that inflation is grossly outpacing wage growth. How about the entire world is a hornet's nest right now between Ukraine and Russia and everything that's happening in the Middle East and our allies being attacked and instability and the lack of patriotism and crime in cities and the fact that you can't go into a CVS and buy something because everything's locked behind plexiglass. And, I mean, how long do you want me to go on that subject? People are sick and tired of it. It's funny, in 2016, we didn't have a single one of those people, and we didn't have a single, congressman and senator, and now all of a sudden you see the massive support. I mean, people want security. People want safety. They want the ability to live the American dream. They want to be able to take their kids to Disney World. Yeah. They want prosperity. They want somebody who will actually be a cheerleader.
Everybody wants to know what this verdict means for the presidential election. You know that. That's all anyone's talking about at this point. Will President Trump be able to run and win? Will he be able to do the things that he was planning on doing for the campaign to actually be victorious in November? What are the restrictions they're putting on, and what is your answer to that?
Well, Maria, as I walked out of that courthouse that day, I said May 30th, 2024 might be the day that won it for Donald Trump. I'm telling you, I've never seen this country more upset about what's happening. And, it's a law of unintended consequences. The Democrats always dig so deep that they end up finding themselves. They think that their little trickery will be overlooked, that they're smarter than everybody else. America's looking through this nonsense. And I think the harder they hit him, the more they do this, the more money he's going to raise, the more independence he's going to get. As I mentioned, I mean, the swing of independent voters after this conviction has been unbelievable because no one believes it. And, you know, they're literally feeding him, you know, certain segments of the population that he might not have had in 2016 and 2020. Because for the first time, they realize that the system's coming down, that he's the victim. He's the victim that oftentimes some of their communities were. And you see them swing. You look at the African-American vote, right? That's swinging over to Donald Trump in spades. Look at the Hispanic vote over the last couple of years. You know, look at the youth vote right now, Maria. I mean, we've never had more youth support out there, and people know exactly what's going on, and they want a strong country again.
It's all about who counts the votes, right? You mentioned your wife, Lara Trump. She's the co-chair of the RNC right now. What has she said? What is she doing? What are you doing in the campaign and for your father in terms of securing this election and ensuring that we have, in fact, a fair election and transparent in November?
Well, I have a beautiful wife, but behind that beautiful smile is somebody who is absolutely working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to secure the vote and raise a lot of money. And what she's done at the RNC, along with Michael Whatley and everybody else, I mean, they've upended the whole organization. They've turned it into the greatest political fighting machine ever. And believe me, their eyes are on that problem every single day because it's a real problem. Anybody that doesn't say that voter fraud is real is either naive or foolish. It happens. It happened in 2020. And we will not allow it to happen again. And believe me, Lara Trump is all over that. And I'm very proud of the work that she's doing, and I'm proud of the work that the RNC is doing. They're killing it, Maria.
Real quick before you go, Judge Merchan set the sentencing date on July 11th, 4 days before the RNC convention. What are your expectations for the sentencing?
Yeah, well, go figure. You never know with these people, Maria. Honestly, the amount of pressure that they're going to put on this guy to do something incredible and insane. And that will backfire on them again, as it always does. You know, I don't even want to try and, predict what's going to happen. I really don't. These people are corrupt. They're horrible. The system's corrupt. I was in that front row, and I saw it every single day. And when you're sitting there, you just wouldn't believe it. If you weren't seeing it with your own eyes, you wouldn't believe that that was the legal system of the United States of America. You'd think that was the legal system of Venezuela or Iran or some third world country. Not the United States of America, and certainly not the capital, the business capital of the entire globe, New York City. And I hope the appellate courts get this right and restore some confidence to the legal system in the U.S.
Eric, an extraordinary moment. We so appreciate you being here this morning, and of course, we'll be watching it and keeping a spotlight on it. Thank you, sir.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.